Captains, welcome back to my channel. I am your host, USS Endeavor. We're going to take a look at one of the ships that got recently buffed for this update. It was a ship that a lot of us didn't like when we first got it, mainly because of how difficult it was to receive, and that was the USS San Diego, which is the premium cruiser at Tier 7, but she did get a buff. As you can see, her HP pool went up a little bit. Her SAP shell damage, which was, I got to be honest, very anemic when it first came out, got a pretty significant buff at 500 plus damage per shell. There's a lot of shells on here. And now they did nerf the reload time by half a second, and they increased the reload booster duration only by 1 second. So we'll take a look at the rest of the build. That's the look at the buffed new San Diego. So let's take a look at the commander and everything else we got for her. The commander that I chose to use is Shelly Beepley, which was a pay-for commander, which is unique to the U.S. line with Mimbelli and Makawa as inspirations to help with the reload and detectability. And then you've got Ingenious in the first slot, Full Speed Ahead in the second, Velocious in the third, and the last one is the special perk that Beepley is all about. That's Private Zone, reducing our detectability and giving us a bearing locator to the closest ship, and then fully packed into the last. So kind of agile-ish. Onto the mod selections, we have aiming systems in the first, we have propulsion in the second, third is going to be our concealment mod, and last we are using the main battery mod 3 to reduce that reload a little bit more. It does come with repair parties, which are very much needed because this ship is pretty low on the health pool, even with the buff. The sonar reaches out to 4.4 kilometers for detection of ships. And last, you have the win button, which is the main battery reload booster, which did get buffed and makes those guns go pretty dang fast for 16 seconds. And we're going to utilize that, and you'll see just how potent it is. On to the actual ship stats themselves. Like I said, her survivability, even with the buff, is still on the low side with 33,500. Think Atlanta, but at Tier 7, and the armor is, well, we'll look at it, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Onto the guns. You've got a lot of them, 8x2, so 16 of them. They're 127 millimeters, which are basically destroyer guns. Like I said, Atlanta, with my reload time, I've gotten it down to 5.1 seconds, which is pretty good. 180-degree turn time is very good, and they did boost the SAP shell damage, so that comes in handy during this game. Does come with torpedoes, but they're defensive in nature only. At 4.5 kilometers, you got to get pretty close in order to use these. So they're good around islands to ambush. 65 knots, decent damage, but that's all that they're good for. 4 on either side. AA defense, for being an Atlanta-style cruiser, it's got okay AA. I think it should have had better AA because this ship was kind of known for its AA suite, but it's anything but sweet in this game. It's okay. It's not the best. Maneuverability is all right. Basically 37 knots with a 610 meter turning circle radius. Rudder shift is 6.6 seconds. Not really speccing into being agile, but it's agile enough for what I need it to be. Onto the concealment, and because of everything that we put into it, we've gotten it down to 9 kilometers, so it's sub 10 kilometers, which is pretty dang good, and you're going to need that. The detection by air is 5.6, and shooting while you're in smoke is 5.2 kilometers. Onto the armor, or lack thereof. It is essentially coated in 16 millimeters of armor all around, which, again, is like the Atlanta, but if you go full broadside in this, you'll make battleship players overpin like crazy. It's when you angle real steeply like this is when you're going to get hit hard. As you can see, the Citadel in the middle sits slightly above the waterline, and you have the 2 sections that sit underneath the turrets that are kind of midships. As you can see right here, I've highlighted it for you. So that's the Citadel. All right, captains. We're in the USS San Diego, the buffed USS San Diego, and we're on the map Riposte. We spawn across from Charlie in a domination game mode. We are technically top tier, but it's definitely not going to feel like it. Now, the division that's on the other team, the Bismarck, Massachusetts, and Missouri, are unfortunately all going to spawn right across from me. And also, I'm going to have to face the lone destroyer and 2 cruisers on the enemy team. So right off the bat, I'm just letting you guys know right off the bat, this is going to be a very intense game. I got to be honest, I was extremely stressed out for most of this game. You'll understand why as it goes into it. But at the very beginning here, my thought process was, since there is no destroyer on this side and I have relatively low concealment and I'm fairly quick, I wanted to get in here right into Charlie, right where that island is, right in front of me. And I wanted to basically set up camp because I know that I can at least contest the cap or potentially take it if I can get in there. And I'm just hoping that my concealment and position will help me not get spotted. So that's my thought process going in here. And I have no idea what I'm going to be facing. But there the P-bagration shows up. And so that's obviously one thing that I have to worry about. Now, I could lob that island and hit him with a couple of shells. But they're not going to do much damage. And the only thing that it's going to do at this point is get me lit, potentially. Speaking of getting lit, that radar has to be coming from the P-bagration because he has 11.7 kilometer radar. Thankfully, nobody's targeting me until right then. But I am now in the cap. I've been able to successfully make it all the way up here. And this is when I realized that the Massachusetts, which spawned mid, and the Bismarck, which is also in that same division, they're all going to congregate over here as that one battleship missed that salvo, which could have been pretty devastating to us early on. But welcome to my home for the next roughly 15 minutes, or however much longer is left in the game. I get radared again, and at the time I was like, who the heck could be radaring me? But as you remember, in that division of those 3 battleships, one of them is the Missouri. So it's likely the Missouri that's radaring me, and I am targeted by 3 ships. More than likely the 3 that are in that division. I'm 5 seconds away from capping Charlie, but unfortunately, I am quite literally surrounded with the only thing at my disposal of keeping me alive is this little rock that I am happily hiding behind. But the Bismarck is coming around to try and get at my broadside, so I'm going to have to push forward just slightly. I have to be very careful in my positioning. I don't have much room to maneuver. And to be honest, throughout this whole match, I was like, at any moment, they're going to rush me and I'm dead. However, I've got all of those ships behind me that are giving me support. And they are really the heroes of this match. I've got to give it to my teammates. I think I spammed I need help, like it felt like 15 times during this game. You'll kind of see it as we go. But there I noticed the Massachusetts is pushing into Bravo on my left. I've got the Bismarck pushing in on my right, and that cruiser was also out there, and now I'm contested, which the Bismarck is in there, so I was thinking it was him. If he gets close enough, his hydro will be able to spot me, but then I get spotted by the Ostergotland, and there I pop my hydro, and there I pop my win button, and you're going to see just how potent these SAP shells have now become against destroyers as we take 2 salvos, get a dev strike against him with 22 penetrations. Yikes. He misses with the torpedoes because we had the hydro going, so now that destroyer's off the board, but unfortunately because we push forward to dodge those, we get whacked through the nose by the battleship. So I'm like literally stuck between a rock and a hard place, and there's nothing I can do. I can't push out. If I push out, I'm dead. I felt like if I stayed here, I'm dead, but I'm also contesting this cap. They can't take it. I grabbed it. Now I'm hydroed, and I'm just thankful that my team is doing a really good job at focusing these guys. I feel like I'm the one that they all want, but none of them can really get to me because my team is positioned really well to support me. Any moves that these guys make to try to get me exposes them to my team. which was unbeknownst to me at the time, but it did end up working out. I wasn't in a division with any of these guys, but they just knew what to do. I've pretty much stalled the push of both the Missouri and the Bismarck. They're just on the other side of that island, and they're not moving out. They are contesting it, but they're not able to generate any points. We do have Alpha, so we are getting points from there. I can't push out much farther because the Massachusetts secondaries are going off on me. He's not focusing me with his main guns, which is nice. But then I realized back behind me that here are two cruisers, the P-Bag and a Prince Eugen. They all have devastating AP. So, oh gosh, so 6 of the 9 ships came over here. But like I said, I'm like this juicy piece of meat that they want to get, and they can't, because by coming after me, they make themselves available to get shot. And like I said, my team does a very, very good job. So kudos to them. They kept me alive as long as they possibly could. Ship count is exactly tied. 6 on 6 remaining. I get whacked pretty good there. I tried to back up, and I got to be honest, I thought this was the end of my life. I should have been dead here. That P-Bag right here on this salvo, I think gets 1 Citadel, but overpins the rest, which again is a tribute to just how bad this armor is. No armor apparently is the best armor. But again, I'm down to like less than half my health. All they have to do is rush me. Yes, I have torpedoes, but they're slow. I guess they know that. If they would have coordinated their attack a little bit better, there's nothing I could do. I'm going to die. But they don't do it. And they just can't seem to get over here because my team is, again, in the back, is just supporting me as best as they can. This Massachusetts has definitely been a thorn in my side. But my team is doing a good job at pushing them, and he is focused on other ships, not me. So we're trying to chime in as best we can, and these SAP shells do some pretty good damage. They're definitely annoying. Now, I'm not going to be able to set fires like an Atlanta would, but against lightly armored targets, like that destroyer that you saw, they didn't have much of a chance. Here the Prince Eugen is getting at my broadside, so I'm forced to push in yet again. Ends up pointing towards me, but goes broadside to those guys behind me. So now he ends up having to disengage. He wanted to come straight at me, but it looks like he wasn't able to do so. As the Massachusetts finally goes down. So now I'm able to kind of reposition my ship and utilize this island in a different fashion, knowing that the Massachusetts is no longer a threat. I popped my hydro yet again because I figured those were coming in. So now I've got the last 4 remaining ships are literally all right here. I got all 4 of them right here. And this island has been my friend. I feel like the island is the MVP of this match. As now they're going to try and make a coordinated push, but it's too late. I've been able to stall them for some. I didn't realize that the San Diego was that scary of a ship, that it would prevent a Missouri, a Bismarck, a Prince Eugen, and the P-Bags from pushing me. The P-Bags does go down, and here finally, I guess they're like, okay, we've had enough. The Prince Eugen is going to start pushing hard around the left, and you can see the Missouri and the Bismarck are pushing hard around the right. But I think that they were trying to bait torpedoes out of me as they kind of push hard and then they slow down. But I don't buy it. I don't fall for it. I'm just going to end up backing up just a little bit more. But that's when the Prince Eugen decides to start pushing. So we're going to save our torpedoes for him. Although, I'll be honest, I was going to push him out on the line, but I thought that he would also do the same thing and stop, but he ends up not doing that, and one of those torpedoes accidentally hits the island anyway, so he actually ends up dodging those, and in this move, I know that they're all targeting me. Still, all 3 ships are targeting me, and here I'm like, maybe I can get my other set of torpedoes off, but because I'm so tightly angled, just as I'm about to release them, they finally take me out. But by making that move, they expose themselves to the rest of the team, and down goes the Bismarck from the Atlantico. I lasted long enough for all these ships to finally get into good positions. The Missouri has no chance at this point. He's getting focused really heavily, and by making that move and allowing my team to reposition the way that they did, these last ships, even though I died, go down in rapid succession as they desperately tried to take the cap, and bingo, bango, bongo, they're all done. And that's the end of the match, and oddly enough, even though I had amazing team support by my team, I still ended up top on the leaderboard, which I got to be honest, I don't know how that happened. I guess I had a lot of spotting damage. I don't know. But anyway, I'll take it. So that's a look at the San Diego, and quite a bit of a stressful game, but one that was very intense the whole game. Just being surrounded by overwhelming odds and being able to survive as long as I did really paid off in the end. So I thought that was a really fun game to show you guys. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. And fair winds and fair seas, captains. This is the USS Endeavor signing off.